And right over here, please.
Right this way down the center, please. Let's come down first.
And to your left, please.
Over here. Great.
Great. Let's cross.
Right here, please.
Gentlemen on the end, please.
And right here.
Gentlemen, right here, down on the end.
Right here, please. Gentlemen, Max, right here, please.
My name is Theo Ballinger. I'm the publicity director here for Atria Books. We're here today to talk about Love and Death, the murder of Kurt Cobain, and I want to just give you a little background on this. In just 3 short years, Kurt Cobain went from struggling musician to rock icon. As leader of the Seattle-based grunge band Nirvana, Cobain single-handedly changed the music world with songs that blended masterful punk, pop, and heavy metal, wrapped in some of the most profound and emotionally jarring lyrics ever written. He became the savior of thousands of Generation Xers who were desperate for someone who could articulate the particular feelings of alienation, frustration, and anger. But Cobain's turbulent life came to a tragic end. On April the 8th, 1994, he was found dead in his suburban Seattle home from a shotgun blast to the head. Although the news of Cobain's apparent suicide shocked the world, many saw it as the inevitable final step for a rocker well known for his drug abuse and emotional instability. Love and Death, the Murder of Kurt Cobain, by award-winning investigative journalists Max Wallace and Ian Halperin, is a gripping account based on the author's exclusive access to the explosive case tapes of Courtney Love's own former private investigator, who taped all his conversations with Courtney and others in the days immediately before and after Kurt's death. The contents of those tapes are extremely damning. Wallace and Halperin also based their stunning revelations on hundreds of personal interviews with friends and acquaintances of Cobain and Love, police records from the Seattle Police Department and the state of California, and the collection of personal files of private investigator Tom Grant. In this compelling account, the authors explain why Cobain's suicide has remained shrouded in doubt, in large part due to Love's seemingly deliberate and calculated distortion of the facts surrounding his final days. Delving deeply into the most numerous inconsistencies in Love's stories and the mind-boggling contradictions of her accounts over the last decade, Wallace and Halperin present illuminating new arguments about whether or not Love had her husband murdered and why she had made it nearly impossible to get to the truth.
Okay, I'm just going to start things off. My name is Ian Halperin, and this course is Tom Grant. First off, I would like to thank the people at Atria and Simon & Schuster for doing a fantastic job in getting this book out. Notably, Judith Kerr, our editor, Luke Dempsey, Director of Publicity, Seal Ballinger, and I'd also like to thank our literary agent, Luke Janklow, just for helping us so much in this whole long process. I want to introduce you to how we got involved in this case. Back in July 1994, I was on tour with my band, I'm a musician myself, in Seattle. It was there that I encountered a lot of Kurt Cobain's friends, and they thought they were voicing concerns about the way Kurt died. Some suggested foul play. At first I thought this was just some outrageous half-baked celebrity conspiracy theory. A few months later, however, I had heard that Courtney Love's own private investigator, Tom Grant, accused Courtney of murder. That's when my journalistic instinct took over.
Okay, before I get into the details of our own investigation, I'll give you a basic timeline of the events. Starting on April 1st, 1994, a week before Kurt's body was found. He was at a drug rehab center in Los Angeles, in Marina del Rey, called Exodus, where he'd gone in at the suggestion or huge pressure from his record company, his management company, to treat his supposed heroin addiction. And on April 1st, at about 7:25 p.m., he left. He climbed over a wall and supposedly disappeared. Now, Courtney Love always said that she'd never heard from him again. She didn't know where he went on April 1st. And I guess the first key revelation in our book, we obtained the hotel records from the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills, where Courtney was staying at the time that Kurt was in this LA rehab. And we have a series of messages that were left for her. Nobody's ever seen this before. except probably Courtney. We have a message that Kurt actually left her at 8:47 p.m. that night, about an hour and a half after he left rehab, in which the message he left was, husband called, Elizabeth number is, and there's a phone number that we've partially blacked out. Thank you. So Kurt actually told her where he'd gone. Seal actually has copies of this if anybody wants to see it afterwards. Now, we know that after he left the rehab, sometime that evening he arrived at LAX airport to fly back to Seattle. He arrived at Seattle in the middle of the night, and he took a limo to his house, their estate. The next morning, at about 6 a.m., he showed up in his male nanny's bedroom. The nanny's name was Michael DeWitt, and sat on his bed and they had a little chat. So we know that Kurt was in Seattle, was at his house.
The first tape we're going to play you concerns the accidental overdose in Rome 3 weeks before Kurt died. Now, at the time, both Kurt and Courtney said that it was an accidental overdose. It was only after Kurt died that Courtney pronounced that it was a suicide attempt. And this went a long way to convincing the world that Kurt Cobain was suicidal. The tape we're going to play you right now concerns a so-called suicide note left in Rome, and this is between Courtney and Tom Grant.
It doesn't start off very nice.
Does it say anything suicidal?
It says one thing very definitely suicidal on the first page. It said, it's mean to me. It says, like, I read, you know, it says, but Dr. Baker says I have to choose between life and death. I'm choosing death. That's a quote on the note. Right?
Can I please have a copy of that?
They have to. Yeah, they have a copy of the other one. So they do. It's like a little piece of paper. And it says, there's there were 3 or 4. I think there were 4.
Why would somebody tell you to get rid of that?
Because it wasn't really nice. They talked about getting a divorce.
Cameron told you to get rid of that because it wasn't very nice?
He advised me, he said that this will never do you any good or your family. I would get rid of that if I were you.
Again, just before I introduce Tom Grant, I really want to stress, we didn't call you here today to do a whole promo piece about Courtney Love. This case is not about Courtney Love. It's about one of the greatest rock icons ever. A man who influenced a generation, who has millions of fans around the world who would like to know how their hero really died. There's been over 68 copycat suicides to date. The families of the suicide victims deserve a proper explanation. We've seen emails to Tom Grant. Kids today are still suicidal over the death of Kurt Cobain. We urge the Seattle Police Department and the proper authorities to do a proper investigation. Again, we're not